And we have seen some, they might struggle for a week or even two, but at some point something changes for them because of their willingness. As long as they're here and they listen and they do, they can't help but change.
Welcome back. Greg Hanley and Daniel Baldwin with SOBA Recovery are here. We also have another special guest joining us, a friend of theirs, Mark Adams, and he's sharing his story because you've been through SOBA Recovery.
Abrams. Yes, ma'am.
Abrams. Got it.
Right.
Mark, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me out here.
I know it takes a lot of courage to come on and to share your story, but I know by you doing this, if we have people watching right now that are maybe in the same situation, maybe this will, convince them to call SOBA and get help. So before you tell your story, it's interesting how you ended up meeting Mark. You and Daniel and Greg and
Alex. Greg and I all met through another film that Greg financed called HOA, which we did a show with you guys early on. And Mark was an actor and is a producer, and also is a very well-known leader in his field, business-wise, here in San Antonio. We ended up getting involved doing the second picture, The Wisdom to Know the Difference, and I'm going to let you tell the rest of the story.
Well, it's a very interesting story. It's kind of like being in the right place, right time, and I was able to, I met with Alex Agrici and also got to meet with Daniel and Greg. And it was a very interesting time for me because I was in the middle of a lot of chaos in my life and a lot of things that were going on. And it was a good meeting because it took a while. I mean, I've known him for over a year, but it took a while for me to realize after visiting the SOBA site that, you know what, I have a problem, and I got to address this problem. And if it wasn't for Alex's help and Greg and Daniel's, I'd probably still have that problem. But they definitely helped me with the challenges that I was having. And I think a lot of people are misguided and don't understand. When they think of drug or rehabilitation, they think of hard drugs. They think of heroin. They think of the harder thing, cocaine. They don't realize that it could be as simple as a prescription drug that everybody goes home with every day. And that was what my problem was. And I didn't realize it. And I didn't realize the damages I was doing to relationships, friendships, and to myself and the people closest to me for over 10 years. Wow. But without the help of SOBA, I would still be there.
And this is a big, strong guy, and but teddy bear deep down inside. And Alex and I particularly, because we had a lot of one-on-one exposure to Mark. There'd be this guy that would show up one day and we're eating sushi and we're laughing, and then this guy that would show up the next day and we'd go, who is that? Wow. And so what he didn't realize, and Greg could testify much better because you
guys knew.
Well, we knew something was going on. The elevator and the different personalities that when they come into your place versus after the cobwebs, that's got to be something that you see every day.
Well, and the nice thing was bumping into him months down the line, because I hadn't seen him in a while, and just the joy and freedom that he had found, and it was obvious. He came running up and said, this saved my life. And a lot of people who get addicted to prescription drugs don't realize that a lot of them have a half-life. So if you're using a benzodiazepine like a Xanax or Klonopin or something like that, they don't leave your system for a long time, sometimes up to 18 days.
18 days?
Yeah, and one of the side effects is that you forget things. So if you're using that, you could also forget how many you took. And when you see, and so you add a little alcohol, or you go to the dentist, or you get a surgery and get a painkiller, that's the lethal combination.
Gotcha.
And people don't realize because they think it's just a medication. And as time goes on, they tend to take more and more because they want to feel less and less.
So Mark, what was it though that made you finally say, okay, I have a problem and I want to do something about it? What was the trigger? Do you remember the moment? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I remember the moment because I had a couple of encounters with Alex and Daniel that I consciously didn't know it at the time, but I remember one time where I really went off the wire, and it stayed in my head. And I went to go visit Alex at SOBA, and I just saw the clients that they had there and the freedom. And I wasn't what I envisioned a rehab to be. And I thought that, this is something I can do I know I have this problem. I know I got to get off this prescription drug. And only chance I have is to actually tell somebody. And that's when I sat down with Alex and Daniel and I said, hey, look, I need help. And with the help of Greg, I mean, they were able to help me on the right track. And you know, it took a few months, but like he said, you know, the freedom of, it's not tied down to the bed. You know, I was coming and going, and they just monitored me as I was coming and going on an outpatient type of visit. And it worked perfect. It was. I do have a busy schedule, but
yeah, and you were still able to do all of that.
And I had to make time for myself though, because I mean, it was going to catch up with me sooner or later, and I just got lucky to meet the right people. And I think everything happens for a reason. I might have met them doing the movie, but look what it ended up doing for me. It ended up saving my life, and a lot of friendships that I was losing because of the issues I was having.
They were talking, or we were talking a little earlier about the fact that you're not chained to a bed, you're not stuck in a room. It's a social atmosphere, and it's very family oriented. Did you get that sense of family when you were at SOBA, Texas?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, there was people there that I didn't even know that I felt freely to go up and talk to. I mean, I would walk up to them, we just start talking, and it wasn't about anything that they were there for or what I was there for. We're just talking about the horses that were outside running around, or the nice air outside, the beautiful scenery that was out there, the hill country that's set up in. And it's just really something that people don't expect. I mean, it's not something that where you're caged up. You're in there and you're free to walk around and you do whatever you want to do, and you just have to, you know, want to be there. And I think that's what I'm hoping, is that people will see this and want to be there.
Sure.
And Greg will tell you that, you know, the number of people that, well, we take people from all over the world. So the number of people that will come in from Jersey or whatever who now live in Malibu,
Right.
like they don't want to leave.
They want to be there.
So they go through, you know, some intensified treatment, and they get, you know, 90, whatever it is that takes them 90 days, and then they go into an assisted living program where they stay, you know, sometimes for another year or whatever it is, and then they move. You know, they move. They get tired of paying rent on 2 coasts or whatever it is, and they come and they're part of our family for good.
Yeah, and I know y'all. I mean, you and Greg are the best of friends. Have been for how many years now?
A long time.
A long time.
A long time. Our hair wasn't as silver. I use dye. He doesn't.
100 years.
Mark, thank you so much for sharing your story.
I appreciate
we really
it.
do appreciate
I
it.
hope that my visit here can help anyone, even one person out there that can go in and understand that it's, you know, there's nothing wrong with going in and sharing.
Yeah.
Go in there and let them help you.
Thank you so much. And you guys don't go anywhere, because after the break, SOBA Texas, it's open. They're here to help you or someone that you love if they are battling an addiction. We'll talk more with the handsome guys after the break.